The purpose of this tape is to ensure that coaches, players, game officials, and all personnel associated with the game understand that sideline management and control of the sidelines is of utmost importance. Rule 925 reads that while the ball is in play, that coaches, substitutes, and unauthorized attendance in the team area may not be between the sideline and the coaching line or in the field of play. What this means is that 6-foot area from the sideline back, commonly referred to as in the white, should be left clear from the time that the ball is snapped until after the play completely concludes, which means that the teams who are on the ground or teams in a sideline area actually separate themselves and begin going back to the respective huddles or to the respective team areas. Encroachment upon this area will require that game officials will give the first occurrence a sideline warning to the head coach, informing him that his players and personnel need to keep themselves back of this 6-foot area. If there is a second occurrence at any time in the game, automatically a 5-yard penalty will result. The third occurrence, the same 5-yard penalty will also result, and any subsequent occurrences, a 15-yard penalty will result. Let's take a look at what we expect a sideline to look like, and how we expect team behaviors to occur. Here's a play at Western Illinois. Please note, if you will, the sideline action of both players and coaches, well out of the white area, well out of that 6-foot boundary that we've just referred to. And as a play develops and officials go downfield, that 6-foot boundary area allows them to officiate the play to the best of their ability. So once again, the white area is to remain out of bounds only for officiating purposes until such time that a play has concluded, come to its fruition, and players have begun going back to the respective sidelines, benches, or huddles. This next video clip illustrates the concern about sideline management and sideline control. As you can see, coaches and players are in the white area. They are not in the coaching box, which is 6 feet behind the sideline, and that's where they should be. At this point, with the fact that players and coaches are in this white area and a snap is imminent, this will be a concern that will draw an automatic sideline control warning if it was the first occurrence. If this is the second occurrence in the game, a 5-yard penalty will automatically be instituted. If this happens to be the third one, another 5-yard penalty. If this is the fourth occurrence, it will be a 15-yard penalty for an unfair act. As you will see as this play develops, the sideline is going to step back, clear itself, and watch the second actions that take place. Through much of the play, you see players still in the white, and then they get out as the offense comes to that sideline. Immediately, as a play develops, you see players and coaches now coming onto the sideline, into the white, and somewhat onto the field. Players and coaches are not to come into the white area or onto the field until well after we see both teams finish their action and start to separate themselves to go to either respective sidelines or to their own team huddles. Once again, here is a video clip that shows coaches in the white area, both on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. It doesn't matter whether or not the offense is going towards you or going away from you. Coaches and players are not allowed into the white. So when you see this coach at the 46-yard line in the offensive backfield, this is enough to draw the warning. You see the coach at the 40-yard line and another coach at the 36-yard line. All three of these coaches are suspect to sideline warnings and all the ramifications of their actions. In a moment, we will be looking at a play that will draw the attention of reverse mechanics, or as we see, an interception in which game officials cannot actually do their duties to because of the coaches in this area. So once again, coaches are instructed to understand whether you're on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball, you could be given sideline warnings and possible penalties for being in this white area during the course of live ball action. This next clip clearly illustrates the issue at hand. Coaches, players, team attendants must be at a minimum of 6 feet behind the sideline. And as you can see in this case, we have numerous coaches in the offensive backfield, numerous coaches on the defensive side of the ball. As the play develops, you'll notice that the crowd begins to clear a zone for the players and action to occur. But nonetheless, when the play is over, as you will see in this next sequence, when the play is over, coaches and players begin to surround the game officials, not allowing them clear view of the action in the sideline. And as a result, this coach, as you will see, who steps in front of the referee and pushes him aside actually, could generate a major penalty for contact with a game official, but nonetheless, just stepping on the field and coming into the area prior to this offensive player leaving the sideline, going back toward his own team area, could draw the sideline warning. Let's be careful. Once again, here you see numerous coaches in the white area in the offensive backfield. First glance, it may appear that this is innocent, nothing wrong with it. However, we're going to see a sequence of events that occurs with coaches in the white area in the offensive backfield that will interfere when we end up having the reverse mechanic of an interception or a fumble recovery. Once again, the sideline is to remain completely clear, void of players, attendants, and coaches until after the dead ball has concluded. And once again, players are now returning to their sidelines or returning to their huddles. We are not to allow coaches to interfere in this white area whatsoever during live ball action. This next play has a very unique situation. First of all, game officials should never allow a play to occur, especially a kickoff, with coaches in the white. In this case, you see the coach at the 33-yard line at the bottom of the screen. Prior to putting the ball in play, this coach must be out of the white area. Officials do not allow the coaches to make a mistake. Do not penalize them if they're in the white and you allowed the play to continue. Clear the sideline prior to every play. Make sure they're out of there. Be preventative. Now as the play develops, watch what happens during the return of the kick. And at the top of the screen, you see the coach who gets excited and is going to run along with the player at the top of the screen. He's in the white the entire time, obstructing the vision and possibly the work of the game officials themselves. This would draw a sideline warning and or a 5-yard penalty if it was the second, third, or a 15-yard penalty if it was the fourth occurrence. So once again, all of these sideline warning issues of being in the white can compile up on one another to the point where they become the 15-yard penalty if it's the fourth occurrence in the ball game. So we have to be cognizant that we're very serious about not stepping into the white, staying 6 feet behind the sideline throughout the entire play, and of course waiting until the play has concluded and players have now separated and gone back to their respective huddles or bench areas. This next video clip illustrates exactly what we have just mentioned. What appears to be very innocent offensive team, offensive coaches in the offensive backfield. However, as you will see, the ball is intercepted. And the first clip from the sideline shows that there are some coaches in the way. But when we go to the end zone shot, what you will see is the fact that coaches now are obstructing. They're in the white, obstructing one of the deep officials from doing his duties, actually having to push them back, getting them out of the white. And as you can see, coaches crowding all the way to the sideline during the dead ball action. Once again, coaches stay out of the white, players out of the white until such time that play is completely concluded and we see players returning to their sideline or respective bench areas. This next play clearly illustrates the concerns that we have about sideline control. What starts out as a situation with coaches in the offensive backfield now become an obstruction. So when we see coaches in the white, as you see here, the pass is intercepted and the player is returning up the sideline, coaches on the sideline, causing a game official now to change his movement or to have concern about his personal safety. There will be an automatic 5-yard penalty anytime we consider there to be an obstruction or any kind of interference with our duties. A coach on a sideline prior to a snap steps in front of a game official by walking on the field. This is an automatic 5-yard penalty. In this reverse mechanic, or as we see, trying to cover a fumble return or a situation where they're trying to cover a pass interception, as in this case, if the game official feels that in any way he was obstructed, has to run around coaches and or players, a 5-yard penalty will result. So stay out of the white and stay off the field, and to alleviate these kind of penalties from occurring. This next play now talks about some of the allowances that will be given to coaches. As you will see as this play develops, the sideline is clear, and there's no penalties, no obstructions, no warnings to be given. However, as the play develops, you see at the conclusion of the play, as the play is over, coaches now step forward. Play is over, players are separated, coaches step forward, they come onto the field. We allow the coaches to take a couple of steps onto the field to congratulate and or to coach their players. So if a coach comes out to give direction to one of his offensive or defensive players, as long as he remains near the sideline, he's okay. We never let them get out halfway to the numbers or even to the numbers. All of that would be instantaneous penalties for coming too far on the field, of 5-yard penalties. So we'll take a look at some other illustrations, but coming on the field to provide plays, to give direction, and or to congratulate players will be allowed. The next play gives a very good example of this. In this play, you see a coach coming onto the field because his player made a fantastic defensive play. Congratulating him, patting him on the rear end, A-OK, not a problem with congratulating your players. High fives. The only thing we want you to be aware of is don't rush on the field, do not taunt your opponent. That defensive player, the offensive player of your opponent, deserves the same respect that your player did for such a great play. So we let you come onto the field, coaches, to give a congratulatory to your players. You do not come all the way out on the field. Once again, at or near the sideline was going to be the limitation. This next video clip shows a coach coming on the field, not being exuberant, not complaining, not really upset with anything, just stepping on the field. He might be coaching his players, he might be just asking, but at the conclusion of the play, we allow a coach to come a couple steps on to view the action and to once again coach his players. But if a coach comes onto the field and shows any sign of anger, any type of action that would be construed as unsportsmanlike, automatic 15-yard penalties will be given. This next play illustrates once again the fact of coaches coming into the white. You see at the top of the screen, it may seem innocent, but as you watch the play develop, that turns into a fumble, recovery by the defense, and now comes up the other sideline. As you can see, coaches coming onto the field could possibly obstruct the view and the working conditions of the game official. Once again, this is a sideline warning, and they compile and pile on top of one another. Be very cognizant that 1, 2, or 3 in the course of the game can get you into a situation in which a 15-yard penalty would result for the 4th occurrence. This play is very unique, but it serves to illustrate a point. Coaches will be allowed to leave the team area to challenge a play or to call a timeout. In this situation, what we see is a coach leave his team area and progress all the way down the field. And what he's going to be telling the line of scrimmage official is, I may want to call a timeout. However, he stays there. He does not call a timeout, and as a result, for leaving the coaching box, this will be a situation in which he will be given a warning. If it's the 2nd occurrence, it will be a 5-yard penalty. And of course, for him staying there, if it's the 4th occurrence, it would be a 15-yard penalty. The only time, if he comes downfield, he must call timeout or he must challenge. He cannot stay and linger down in this area outside his coaching box. This next play now starts dealing with obstructions. You will see in this case a play develop in which the runner goes to the out of bounds and coaches in the white, a game official now is contacted, either contacted by the coach or he runs into the coach in the white. This now requires an automatic 15-yard penalty. Coaches, be aware that being in the white and obstructing a game official in his duties will draw an automatic 15-yard penalty. Whether it's a brush, a bump, or a total collision, all three serve the same purpose. Be cognizant of being in the white and, of course, contacting game officials. This next play starts out absolutely perfect. You'll notice the white in the top of the screen. The coaches are outside of it, players are outside of it, and as a play develops, you see that there is no obstruction, and then suddenly game official runs into and knocked to the ground by one of the coaches. This draws an automatic 15-yard penalty for this action. Coaches, keep in mind, being in the white and a game official who is obstructed and or you obstruct his ability to officiate the play will draw an automatic 15-yard penalty. On this play, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen, even though the play is to the other side, you'll see that the deep official is backpedaling and collides with one of the coaches. This draws an automatic 15-yard penalty. Coaches need to be aware that they have a coaching box. Players have a players area behind that. I would suggest highly that you put your players into that area and coaches be allowed to roam in their area to prevent these kinds of collisions from occurring. Once again, automatic 15-yard penalty. Here is yet one more example of a game situation that looks innocent enough to begin with. However, coach in the offensive backfield on the block punt, a game official jurisdicting his duties is going to collide with a coach. This brings an automatic 15-yard penalty. This next play serves to illustrate one final time why it is important that coaches stay out of the white area. What appears to be innocent position by a coach in the offensive backfield turns into a disaster because of the interception and the ensuing work of the game officials on the sideline. We are emphasizing the fact that coaches need to be outside the white area until all play has concluded and players have separated themselves and begun to go back to their respective bench areas or to their team huddles. Our final series of plays deal with coaches coming onto the field and showing unsportsmanlike actions or behaviors. These kinds of actions will not be tolerated. They are not productive for the game itself, and of course, any sign of ill will is going to be penalized. Here you see a coach coming on the field to complain about an issue on the field. This will draw an automatic 15-yard penalty for his actions expressing unsportsmanlike behavior. This next video clip illustrates a coach coming on the field to call timeout. Coaches are allowed to talk with a game official on the sideline for a timeout, but not come on the field. You'll see this coach come on the field not only to call timeout, but he now wants to complain about a situation. And any sort of exuberance or any sort of unsportsmanlike verbiage, actions of throwing your hands up, pointing at people, arguing, drawing a scene will bring automatic 15-yard penalty. This next video clip serves to illustrate, once again, unsportsmanlike behavior and actions by a coach. As you can see, as the game officials are preparing to measure for a first down, this coach comes onto the field. Right at this moment, it should have been penalized. And now he's going to complain and he's going to react in a negative manner toward their decision. Whether right or wrong, the coach should be penalized for unsportsmanlike behavior, and it'll be 15-yard penalty as a dead ball foul at the succeeding spot. At no time should game officials allow any coach, whether it be a head coach or an assistant coach, to use profanity or make derogatory remarks and illustrate any actions that provoke ill will. This will bring an automatic 15-yard penalty. Our concluding play illustrates the worst of all scenarios. A coach storming onto the field, complaining and illustrating his dissatisfaction with a situation. Whether or not he uses profanity is immaterial. Coming onto the field, waving your arms, throwing a clipboard, taking your headset and throwing it to the ground, any kind of action that provokes ill will or dissatisfaction toward any kind of game management situation will draw an automatic 15-yard penalty. Our hope is this videotape, along with the subsequent materials that will be given to all coaches and all officials, will ensure that everybody is on the same page with regard to sideline conduct and sideline management. We wish everybody a great 2014 season.